Welcome everyone to another video, and in this video we're going to be doing an in-depth breakdown of someone's gameplay around 2500 elo. I think this person's Twitch handle is like PieCow, but their IGN is like ping3497. Really what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to break down every component on how they can improve, what are some things that they could do differently, and then as well, what are things that they've have done well, that's either above or below, above their rating. So I'm gonna be very thorough, or try to be as thorough as possible here. I have a bunch of notes. There's 15 battles here, so this is gonna be quite a long video, but hopefully people will find it useful. First thing that I want to do here is just break down the team. So the team is Polytoad with Earthquake, Mandabuzz actually with Air Slash, and then Foul Play and Aerial Ace, and then Ninetales with Charm, Weather Ball, and Psyshock. This is actually in the Remix Cup, so this is one of the first things that you should be doing is evaluating your team. So I put it into the team builder. Then here, when I immediately look at this team, I notice that there's a very big Bastiodon weakness in the back. So Mandabuzz, especially with Air Slash, and then Charm, Ninetales, very weak to Bastiodon, very weak to Steel in the back in general. Polytoad obviously very strong. So and then these two are also very great anti-fighter-ish, right? I guess you have Mandabuzz with Air Slash for the grass. There's not a lot of grass in the remix meta. So when I go ahead and rate the team, you'll see it has B for coverage, B for bulk, A for safety, and A for consistency. And you can see how it performs in the meta scorecard. Deoxys, obviously a big threat. Magnezone is not really applicable. Registeel, obviously a big threat because it does beat two of the three. One very badly. Vigoroth, a little bit of a threat and a little bit of a challenge as well. So, in my opinion, when you're running these type of teams, when you know that Steel, Charm, and Fighters are basically the meta, counter users, I would say, are basically the meta for the remix. So if you don't encounter a very favorable lead, in my opinion, this type of team composition, you should be safe switching. And it's probably a little bit better to safe switch to Mandabuzz, but again, you kind of have to evaluate. So now we're just going to go here, and we're going to start the battles. I might pause, etc., as we go through the battles. So I'm going to try to be as thorough as possible. Again, I have a bunch of notes here. So the first matchup is Polytoad versus Deoxys. So here's a couple things. So let's actually first break down this matchup here. This is something obviously you should do ahead of time. Likely they're running this moveset, Psycho Boost and Thunderbolt. You want to start thinking about when you see the lead, what are the common type of teams that you might see it. So you might see Deoxys Double Charm. Very common team. You might see Triple Counter, another common team. You might see what is Deoxys weak to? Common meta. So it's weak to Sableye. So typically people would have things in the back that counter Sableye. So there's a bunch of different things that might come to fruition. You might do Double Steel, so you might want to take these consideration. But when we immediately look into the simulation here, you see that you lose the Zero Shield, right? Because if they land Thunderbolt, it's very bad. You win the one shield if you can shield the Thunderbolt, and they're not able to get to the second Thunderbolt beforehand. So just take that into consideration. So let's go ahead and continue the match here. You can see there are about eight counters here. Got the extra counter through. They threw the Earthquake here. I actually really don't like the Earthquake being thrown here for a couple reasons. One, Earthquake is less energy efficient here. As you can see down here, Weather Ball is 0.71 damage per energy, and while Earthquake is 0.63 against Defense Deoxys. So you can see Weather Ball is more energy efficient. Secondly, I don't like throwing Earthquake here because I think you don't want to reveal your moveset quite yet. This is quite unfortunate here that they actually threw the Psycho Boost here, and then they are going to dip. So you take a mental note there at 3. They're going to go into Vigoroth. As we know that Vigoroth is a problem for this team because it actually beats both Mandabuzz and Ninetales. It's a very close match here. They were a little slow to the switch, And then going to throw the foul play here. And if we actually, let's actually look up this matchup here between these two. I know this is a lot of detail I am going over, but it's very important. So we go to air slash here. It might win the 0 shield. Yeah, it wins the 0 shield as expected here. But if you switch in too slow, they do get to the third body slam, which would end up KOing. So if you get to two foul plays, you're in a really good spot there. Able to get that extra air slash through, which is really good here. Gonna body slam. They are definitely gonna get to another body slam. So you can tell whether or not they're gonna get to another body slam is if you're more than 3 air slashes away or 3 snarls away from your charge move. Because it's 5 turns to get to the body slam, and it's 3 air slashes or 3 snarls or 4.5 turns, and then to do the 4th snarl or 4th air slash is 6 turns, you know that they're going to get it before you. So you can see here, actually going to give up the switch here and actually down a shield. So not in a really great spot here, but so I think right here is an example of like when you are, and I'm being very critical of them, right? And trying to evaluate and think about what are the ways that people at higher elos, why do they achieve the higher elos? They take these in consideration. So the Vigoroth very likely just dumped all its energy to take out the Mandibuzz. To only do 1 mud shot before throwing the weather ball is a wasted opportunity because you're already down a shield and you've lost switch advantage. So you got to figure out a way to gain any advantage possible. So could have easily went up to double weather ball, so it had a weather ball stored for the Deoxys that's going to come in later or something else. So throw the weather ball here and takes it out. And then they come Deoxys here. So here, you know that they just threw a Psycho Boost beforehand. They went 8 counters and they threw a Psycho Boost. So they have 3 counters worth of energy. It's 21 energy. They just did 2 counters here. We know for sure this is a Psycho Boost. You should be very reluctant to throw your last bit of energy here or lose your last shield. And they actually end up shielding here. And they switch out. And a little bit too slow on the switch here. And now you have no shields left for Ninetales. And they're actually able to get to the gunk shot. Part of the reason why they get to the gunk shot, 1, you don't have a shield. 2, slow on the switch. So it is 9 turns to get to the weather ball. And it's, I think, 11 to get to the gunk shot. So they were able to get there ahead of time, actually beat the Ninetales, and then put them in a very compromising position here with no shields, trying to farm down, which is the right decision here because that's basically the only way you're going to win, even though it's extremely unlikely that you're going to win. And then going to throw the weather ball here. Doesn't really matter though. And then they're going to get countered down. So in game 1, a couple things there. 1, I think you should throw a weather ball instead of the earthquake. Just throwing the more energy efficient move. Don't reveal the moveset. Secondly, we know that Vigoroth counter switch is a problem. So if you want to maintain the switch, you probably have to throw a weather ball at the Vigoroth beforehand. 3, when the Vigoroth came back in after losing the switch advantage, you have to build up energy. You have to figure a way to turn around this match. Otherwise, you're going to be in a very difficult position to try to win. And then fourthly, keeping track of the energy of the defense Deoxys. You should know that that can't be a Thunderbolt. They only did 2 counters. They're only at a Psycho Boost. You should be reluctant of dropping that last shield, especially when you have a Charmer in the back. And Politoed was definitely going to be able to survive. And then switching out a little bit faster versus that Obstagoon would allow the Ninetales get to the weather ball and at least put some shield pressure onto the Obstagoon. And then maybe you had a chance to win there, even though it probably would have been a really difficult battle from there. So triple counter, so that's something you should consider. You should already know it's going to be triple counter. You need to save the shield for the Obstagoon. So these are all the things that run through the head of somebody who is a very well-trained battler and understands the mechanics of the matches. Again, it doesn't mean you're going to win every game, but that's match number 1. I think this match number 2 was pretty straightforward. So, again, a couple of things you want to look at. You want to figure out the moveset. So you want to know if it's Charm, it's Powder Snow. So this is an extremely favorable matchup here. So if we actually just run the sim here, they went for the Earthquake again, which I strongly disagree with. So this is Powder Snow here. They have, I believe they have Dazzling Gleam. Obviously, you don't know ahead of time, but you presume that they should have Dazzling Gleam here. And you can see you win the 0 shield. You actually need to land the Earthquake, so maybe that's the better move. I still don't like it, revealing the moveset. Also, if they end up shielding it, it puts you in a more compromising position versus going straight Weather Ball. Puts you in a little bit better position here. So they do throw the Dazzling Gleam, which obviously doesn't KO. I'm going to throw another Weather Ball to look to KO this Polysio. Okay, they come into Jellicent. Okay, that's totally fine. Gonna Earthquake here. And then they are going to farm down, which is quite alright. Do have the Mandibuzz, which is a very good counter. No shield. I like this no shield because they just blindly threw. And then here comes the Sableye, and then this game's over. So right when you saw that team, you knew it was going to be double Ghost. Obviously, once they came in the Jellicent, they should figure that it is double Ghost. So really good identification there. I do think like going straight Weather Ball, still the superior play. End up being slightly better to go Earthquake and Weather Ball, but again, revealing the moveset, I think a little bit too early. End up in a favorable lead, and then they came in and then was able to line things correctly. The no shield onto Mandibuzz was what I feel like is the correct move because even an Ice Beam wouldn't KO, and they kind of just blindly threw, so it'd be very unlikely that they would get to the Mandibuzz. So well played. Second game there. Good job. Nothing too much there. All right, so we go Politoed into Gardevoir. Very unconventional matchup here. However, if we were to look at this up, we go to Shadow Gardevoir. I'm sure Shadow Gardevoir wins the one shield. Yeah, it does. Just straight Charm. And then basically landing the Weather Balls here. This is a case where if they shield the one Weather Ball, maybe you get to the Earthquake. Yeah, you get to the Earthquake here. So there are certainly some situations where you want to throw the Earthquake, but the Shadow Gardevoir obviously very likely to shield here. So you stay here. Okay, they switched out. So here, if you watch, 2 Charms is 3 turns. Getting to the Weather Ball is 4 turns. So there's that one turn where you saw something switch in, but they still chose to throw the Weather Ball, which it might be fine, but ends up being a Psychic type. So they stay in here, which I don't necessarily agree with. I think switching out to Mandibuzz would have been better. It is a Dark type onto a Psychic type. It is obviously a Psychic type without necessarily any Psychic moves besides Psycho Boost. But I do think that Mandibuzz, even with Air Slash, is still a pretty favorable matchup against the Deoxys. So I think maybe it's actually not so great here because it's actually a really close matchup. That's kind of a problem. I don't necessarily agree that Air Slash Mandibuzz is the right move here, but let's see how this match plays out. So it looks like they are going to stay in this matchup. I'm going to throw the Weather Ball here. And then going to shield again. A Rock Slide. So not the best situation. Down, I like the Undercharge there. Down 2 shields to 0. They come in, okay. Does that end up being slightly better? Because they have a very favorable matchup in the back. And this Charm Ninetales is going to absolutely destroy this Gardevoir. A little bit of lag there, but they're able to basically KO it, and then there's not really too much this Shadowvik can do against the Mandibuzz. So kind of a weird team comp here. I'm not gonna lie. Leaf Blade does chunk, but they're able to farm down. This is where Air Slash ended up being more favorable. So kind of a weird team there. I'm not entirely sure what was going on there, but well played there. So the question is, when do you want to switch? So typically some people would say like you shouldn't switch out of lead scenarios, right? Because like or you should try to avoid switching out lead scenarios as much as possible. In this case, when you see a Metacham lead, you should figure that there's going to be steel in the back. because they have to protect against Charmers, right? Obviously, they could run whatever team they want, could be totally unconventional. But when you look at this lead, even though Politoed, not the worst lead against the Metacham, pretty neutral. But in this case, I do think it's appropriate to try to switch out at some point in time, whether it's at the beginning, and you probably want to switch to your softer counter, which in this case is Mandibuzz, and then hopefully you bait out the Steel type, and then you end up having Ninetales run free because you've had the Steel type bailed out. But in this case, there's no way you can say, because if they have a Bastion on the back, then it's basically game over. But let's see how they play it out. So I'm going to throw the Weather Ball here. I like building up to 2 Weather Balls here, just to try to... Once you get to 2 Weather Balls, they have the same amount of energy to get to the Psychic. Okay, I'm going to throw another Weather Ball here. So they built up... They have quite a bit of energy here. Going to shield. But they throw the Psychic here. And then get a nice undertap there. So they're both around... The Metacham's probably about halfway to another Psychic. So they switch out to Sableye on their own, which is kind of weird. So you know for sure there's going to be a Steel type. So when you look at this here, their lead is weak to Ninetales. Their counter switch is weak to Ninetales. They're 110% chance they're going to have a Steel type in the back. So there's no way that you can shield against this Sableye. Knowing, like, logically, obviously they could have whatever they want, and maybe it's a popular team, whatever, but logically, you know that they're going to have a Steel type here because they're already double weak to Charm. So, shielding this return, the return does a lot of damage, but this return is a total mistake here because they end up having a Bastion in the back. And this Bastion is going to be able to farm up a significant amount versus this Ninetales, versus it would only got 1 Smackdown beforehand. So they're going to be able to land these 2 Weather Balls, but losing your last shield to what? Do like 40% to a Bastion is definitely not worth it. So now your Politoed can basically get one-shotted by this Bastion here. So actually going to go into Mandibuzz, which I actually really like this play here. They Stone Edge, and then going to switch, but it's already too late here. You've given up your advantage, and this is going to be an incredibly difficult game to win. That would have been very straightforward to win if you would have no-shielded Ninetales. And it was, in my opinion, it was very logical to no-shield. Again, this is not saying that this player is bad or anything. It's just that it should have been a pretty obvious play there. And then they're not going to be able to KO with Air Slash because the Air Slash is going to do absolutely no damage there. So these are how you want to evaluate and critically understand your matches here. So I think this one here is pretty straightforward here. I do think that maybe like going straight EQ was the play here. This is a favorable matchup for you. I like the no shield on the Dark Balls here. Building up to the Earthquake, and then baiting here is fine. Straight EQ would have been like 130 energy, so maybe it's better to straight Weather Ball, because 2 Weather Balls looks like it KOs a Alolan Muck, and it's only like 5 more energy. You get the guaranteed damage off, and they're going to be able to throw another Weather Ball before they're able to get there. It actually doesn't KO, and they come into Wiggly, so very good counter switch. A little bit slow there, but that's totally fine. I definitely agree with throwing the Weather Ball as soon as possible because it looks like you're losing the fast move war. They shield. That's totally fine. And then you could shield here because you got the extra charm through. And I like this because your 2 Pokemon in the back don't have like a ton of fast move pressure to Wiggly. And they come into Reggie here. And then here, definitely laying the Earthquake is the right play. Double weak to ground, kind of a weird team. I'm not gonna lie. And they're gonna switch here, and then this game's definitely over here. Definitely no shield. Really Really good play here. Gonna throw the foul play. Nothing too complicated there. So very, very well done. So we're taking a lot of time. I know there's a lot of information to digest, but this is like how I would evaluate and look through someone's gameplay. So we're going through the 6th match here. So this is a very favorable lead, obviously. I don't need to look up the sim here. Polytoad absolutely destroys. Okay, so here, this is a very bad situation here, because you actually end up getting, here at this point in time, the no shield is fine. I don't mind the no shield, but at this point in time here, you should have realized that the counter is going to take you out, and you need to throw the weather ball here to at least take a shield. If you take a shield, or potentially they don't shield, then you're in a much better situation here. But just getting fainted down here was not good at all, and left them in a very compromising position here. And that one weather ball would have did 1 HP there, and they wouldn't have got off this ice punch here, and would have been up a shield, and that would have been not necessarily the worst thing in the world. Losing switch here is pretty bad, but not the worst. And maybe it's like poor IVs on your Ninetales, so something to evaluate. And they go to Bastion here. I like this switch out here. I like this play to switch out to try to like maybe farm down the Bastion later, because like really that's like your only option. I think this is a really good attempt at this is a very good attempt at the end. But unfortunately, I'm not sure not throwing that foul play was the right answer, per se. But there's basically no chance here. I think there might be like poor IVs on the Ninetales, so something that you need to evaluate whether or not you need to go and get a better Ninetales for it. So you should farm down here. But honestly, this game's already over, so not really too much they can do here. I like the bait here. I like the bait. I think it's a good idea. It's basically trying to find win cons here, but there's nothing you can really do at this stage. So they end up shadowballing. So it's going to be a GG. Definitely a very winnable game there. They basically had perfect counters for the team, and they probably could have won. Maybe with I don't know. It was really difficult there. You probably have to shield the Ninetales against the Medicham going forward. So, pretty neutral matchup. Well, actually, pretty, like, I guess, like, more like a losing matchup, but it's not the worst. They throw the Shadow Ball there, which is not great. Gonna throw the Earthquake, which I like, because normally they don't shield. I don't know if necessarily staying is the right answer. Okay, tried to catch the move there, but kind of, like, try to switch at a weird time. They bubble beam baited there, which is not good. Gonna throw the weather ball here, which I like this as a bait. They do shield, and then here I think is where they make a mistake. They should have committed to the Earthquake. If they commit to the Earthquake, perhaps they would KO the Jellicent, and they would be able to. Okay, they really should have threw the weather ball there. I actually don't understand why they didn't throw the weather ball there right when they had it. And they're gonna switch out, which I don't mind this switch out. They come into Ninetales, which is obviously very bad for this Mandibuzz. This Air Slash and Aerial Ace do start chipping away at the Ninetales, so this won't KO. I think they actually go for the Dazzling Gleam here, which I find pretty interesting. It does a lot of damage. And then going to Ninetales here, they obviously have the superior Ninetales when it comes to the moveset, again, in the mirror match. Oh my gosh, they reached the Dazzling Gleam, though. That's pretty bad for them. And then here comes Vigoroth. So Vigoroth, obviously a huge problem for their team. So I think they had a couple chances to win there. Committing to the EQ or throwing that weather ball at the end would have put them in a way better position here. So they try to throw the weather ball at the end, but it's not really to any any advantage here, and they're basically just going to get countered down and body slam. So they decide to back out of the game there. So I think baiting there, but you got to complete the bait. Like, you got to go for the earthquake after you bait, so that you have a chance to win that switch. Politoed versus Dickersby. So this is a good matchup for Politoed. Obviously, as a water type versus a ground type. Earthquake obviously gonna hurt, but not too big a deal. The weather balls do a lot of damage to Dickersby, but Dickersby's so tanky here. Let's see if they let this go. They end up shielding us. I like the shield. So they come into Gengar here, a little bit slow on the switch, totally fine, and they decide to leave the match there. So, but the rest of that was fine there. Yeah, that was a kind of weird ending there, but that's quite all right. Okay, all right. So this is, let me look up this matchup here. I think this is okay. Politoed here. Let's assume that they have foul play, Snarl and foul play. So Mandibuzz loses the 2 shield matchup, and the 1 shield is extremely close. So I don't mind this matchup here. I do think that you have 2 better answers. So because you have 2 better answers versus a slightly losing one, should be being better off. So a very nice catch. Catches the foul play, which is really good. And then gonna throw an aerial ace here. This Mandibuzz has excess energy. The opposing Mandibuzz has excess energy, so they switch out into Registeel. So this is not great, especially it's actually kind of close matchup when you have Snarl, but when you don't have Snarl, it's not that great of a matchup. Actually, let me look up this matchup here. So we're gonna go Air Slash here, Registeel. Yeah, you end up losing the matchup pretty significantly. If you have Snarl, it's much closer. You actually end up winning the 0 and 1 shield. So they throw the Focus Blast here, which is kind of weird. I think 2 of them KO anyway, so. And they're going to throw the foul play here. Okay, going to switch out. I like this switch. Just because like their clocks are a little bit desync because they stayed in for so long. Ooh, very nice catch attempt by the opponent. Unfortunately, they caught a weather ball. Unfortunate for them. And then I think here is okay. Let's see here. Gonna let this go. They likely have 2 steals. I don't really know here actually what they have in the back. So you have to farm down, which they do, which is great. They come into Deoxys here. I don't agree with this Earthquake here. I think double Weather Ball is a superior play here. It just does more damage. And they come into Registeel here. And the Registeel is very low with no energy because through a Focus Plus for switching out. I really like this shield here. This is a very good shield, knowing that they can just straight up charm down. And then they're gonna have to start shielding these weather balls. Yeah, they're gonna have to start shielding these weather balls. Obviously, the Earthquake was nice damage against the Deoxys here, but I think this matchup would have been way more straightforward with destroying 2 weather balls. They Thunderbolt here, but this game is over. So. Really nice taking advantage of the desync clocks because they stayed in for so long. Yeah, really good job. All right, going next match here. So here comes the Mandibuzz. And really good switch here. probably just go straight up for the farm down. You want to be as low as possible. So I really like this play here. They actually go purposely take one more aerial ace before KOing the Mandibuzz, knowing that 3 aerial aces does not KO, and that way the Bastion gets less farm, which I actually think was really critical for this match, especially when you're running Politoed. Politoed not resisting the Smackdowns or Stone Edge really adds up in terms of damage. So going to throw the Weather Ball here. Not going to be able to reach another one. Totally fine. They switch. Okay. All right. So this is a very tricky situation here anyways, because Mandibuzz is basically dead weight. At least Mandibuzz can do damage versus Wiggly. So even though this looks like a total mistake, this is actually probably the most appropriate play. If they didn't let the Charm through, they would have got another Aerial Ace through. So going to build up before throwing here, especially didn't want to throw on the CMP tie. They play rough here. And then going to build up a bunch of energy. Very nice. Going to throw the Weather Ball here. And then going to throw another Weather Ball. And then going to throw another Weather Ball. So very nice here. And then going to go straight for the EQ. And then, as you can see, these Smackdowns do significant amount of damage to Politoed. And honestly, the taking less farm was definitely a really, really critical player. Really nice job. I think that was a very advanced play by the trainer. Okay, so they go Politoed into Altaria. So not a good... So did misclick there, which is not great. I like the switch out into Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz versus Altaria. Let's actually end up looking at... Let's look up that matchup here. Mandibuzz versus Altaria. It's probably a really close match here. There you go. So, actually, Altaria wins this matchup pretty significantly, but that's because obviously Foul Play is worse of a move than... Air Slash is worse move than Dragon Breath, and then Foul Play is worse move than Sky Attack. But still, Mandibuzz does have the superior stats there. So going to let this go, which I don't mind. Probably should wait the clock there, because the Altaria could have punished there if they had a nice save swap. They actually end up having a Registeel here. Going to switch out, and they actually have a Meganium in the back. So I think you had to try to fight harder for the switch advantage. I don't know if you can. Honestly, they didn't shield one, so maybe you could have Air Slash down afterwards. It would have been a really tough matchup here, but that's just getting straight up hard counter. It's not really too much they could do there. They could try to win the switch since they weren't switching out, predicting that there was going to be some sort of grass type, but that was a little bit too difficult of a game there. Okay. Again, here, I think you need to save swap. So they throw the Power Punch here, which is good no shield. And then going to go for the EQ here, which I personally don't like. I think you should throw straight Weather Balls here. And then going to switch out here, which I like, because you definitely need to switch. And they switch out into Wigglytuff. Not necessarily the steel type that you want to catch, but perhaps you can finish off this game with Ninetales, because maybe they don't have a steel type here, but let's see. Anyways, I think it was a good swap regardless. Especially it forced the Metacham to reset its buff. So here, if I was a trainer, I would go into... Oh my gosh, okay, they go into Ninetales here. They have to have it. Oh, it's actually double charm, so that's good. Okay, not going to throw the Weather Ball here. Okay, going to throw the Weather Ball onto this Metacham. And you have to shield this. They're probably just going to be a power-up punch. But you don't really have too much of a choice here, because you got to shield something. Going to throw here, and then you probably don't shield afterwards. and then you hope that you can charm down. Yep, very good play. This trainer knows what their win con is basically to charm down this Medicham. Oh man, have to shield this, and then have to KO. So here, they could have won the game if they anticipated the swap. Because then they end up fainting to the counter. It's really, really tough play there. I don't know, like very many people would be able to anticipate the swap there. But yeah, tough matchup there. Okay, I believe we have 2 or 3 more battles. Yeah, I should anticipate the switch is what I have there. So this is not a good lead. So they're going to try something differently here because they realize like how badly it went last time. They're actually going to bluff the Blizzard here. And I actually think it's one more mud shot to get to the Blizzard. But I'm not sure the opponent's going to be aware of that. So they're going to bluff the Blizzard here. And then going to switch out to Mandibuzz. So I like that play. Grab a shield advantage while you can. I'm not sure why they're clicking on Aerial Ace. Okay, all right. Okay, nice catching the throwing the Aerial Ace onto the Toxtrot. That's really good here. Personally, yeah, I'd shield here. This is very good. And then farm down. Yeah, farm down. Very nice. So they throw the Aerial Ace here, which is definitely the wrong move. Definitely want to throw the foul play, but it happens. And then I actually think that throwing this Aerial Ace ended up being costly for the game because Aerial Ace does like 5% less. I don't think that's at 5%. It definitely would have been a little bit lower though. And I don't know if they get 2 sky attacks off here. No, okay. They go to Hypno here. Gonna go for the Earthquake, which I don't like again. I think 2 Weather Balls would have been way better here. And then here they make one more critical error. And I don't think it makes a difference in this particular matchup here. Is that they didn't end up throwing the Weather Ball. Actually, maybe it would have KO'd here. The Weather Ball would have did 32%. I think that would KO. Could have either double Weather Balled or threw the Weather Ball then and probably would have won the game. So that's just creating a lose con by just making these simple mistakes, not throwing the Aerial Ace into the Altaria, and then as well not going for the double Weather Ball. So Scrafty, kind of tough here. Gonna try to catch a move here. They threw it at like a weird time here though. They end up throwing a foul play into this Mandibuzz, which is really good for them. So this Rock Slide definitely will not KO. And then they, I think they end up just getting hard countered in this one. So I think in these last 2 games they just getting hard countered. So there's not really too much to talk about for these last 2 games. I think. So when we evaluate this trainer's play, overall at 2,500, you expect them to be good battlers, right? They understand typing, they understand general matchups, they understand which charge moves are better than others, that type of things. But there's like a couple things that needs to be refined. And as we think about this person's gameplay, as we look through their 15 battles, one is like team identification. 2 is like not the initial counting. So I think their initial counting is fine, but as the game progresses, they seem to lose count and lose track of how much energy. So they throw too early. They shield something that they shouldn't shield. They're also like not, for example, like this is very common at this ELO range. They're not identifying what the potential like few win con is. So throwing the Earthquake against a Hypno, for example, was definitely the wrong move. Throwing double Weather Ball and then throwing another Weather Ball from Ninetales definitely would have resulted in a win for them. And then thinking about like when they would get fainted, anticipating the swap, all those things, I think as you look through this video, you'll pick up these like subtle things that will allow you to flip some games that you end up losing that you should be winning. So anyways, I'm gonna leave it there. I know this is a very, very long video. Again, Remix is over as well, but hopefully you understand like how the mechanics and gameplay, matchups, all these things that take consideration from the most elite battlers, and that you can incorporate into your own gameplay. So I'm gonna leave it there. If you want me to do this at 2600 elo, 2700, 2800 legend, etc., really break down what are the good things, the bad things, how they can improve their gameplay, so you can use that information to improve on your own. Anyways, I'm gonna leave there. If you like this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see everyone in the next video.